I pledge allegiance to the flag
to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which stands one under God, in
liberty and
liberty and justice for all.
You sent it's Earth to Moon, Lisa. Minutes. Anybody have any questions on? None?
No.
Can I get a motion to approve them?
So moved. Second.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Okay. Correspondence, you had any second thoughts on the police?
No,
Good.
no, we're good. Well, I didn't put this on the agenda, but I forgot to share this with the board. It's a thank you note from Tony, so you can just.
We gave him a Harry, we gave it a basket. So.
And on that Southampton Town, Don, I am getting emails from the dispatch each day to let me know who's on if the schedule isn't filled in for the police.
Good.
And I did talk to the chief about setting up the meeting, but he said anytime, just let me know, but I figured don't want to do it till about April.
No, because
Too soon right now, I
when he gets a little better ideas, not static.
Right, exactly.
Part of the official village records.
There we go.
We have the Daisy Barns, the chickens.
And I did speak with both, let me see if I've got anybody looking to come in. Andrew. And I also spoke and sent an invitation. Andrew, could you put your video on, please?
I'm wondering a little bit why it's on the agenda of this meeting.
Because you told me to put it on there. I was gonna, last month, January, you had asked for additional information. You had asked the applicants to chat with the neighbor.
We did, and they didn't show up.
And so they didn't have anything to report last week. And so then the thought was to, if they don't have anything to report, put it to the next month until they have something. I didn't reach out to them.
No, I thought I'm not sure if the minutes reflect this. My recollection is that we said there's no reason that we should not adopt this.
You had mentioned that last week,
Yes.
right? And I haven't done the minutes from last week because it is within code. But you were trying to appease the neighbor by having the applicant chat with the neighbor. That was January's meeting.
So, we are where we are. Is there somebody here?
Andrew, Andrew, could you put your microphone and your video on, please?
He's got his audio off as well.
Andrew?
Sign language, anybody?
You can mute them, but I don't think I can unmute them.
No,
He's on there. He's got, Andrew, if you can hear us, the board would like to discuss your application, but you have no video and you have no, and your microphone is off.
is this the applicant
Yes.
or the neighbor?
No, this is the applicant.
Well, I don't see any reason why the applicant needs to speak to us.
Okay. Well, he's on there, but he's not
Well, he's
responding.
not there because we
Well, I'm telling you, he's
he
in
can't
there.
hear us and we can't hear or see him.
He may just be monitoring for informational purposes.
He's on there. I can tell you he's on there. I let him in. He is in
Okay,
the meeting via Zoom. You just can't see him and you can't hear him because his microphone is off.
And apparently he can't hear us.
I'm assuming he can hear us if he's on the meeting room and he's got speakers, but that's an assumption, Don. And just so that you know, I did also speak with the neighbor's attorney, Steve Kiley, yesterday, and informed him that this would be on the agenda today, and I sent him a Zoom link to this meeting as well.
There he is.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Who is this?
This is Andrew, for the
Applicant's
applicant.
architect.
Mhm.
How are you?
Hi.
Is this the proper time for me to jump in?
Yes,
Okay.
do you have anything further you want to say to the board?
I didn't have anything further. If we're able to proceed with the original submission, that would be fantastic.
Right. Have you been talking with the neighbor, or have they been in contact with you?
I have had conversations. I think they were hopeful that we'd be able to move it more than we thought we'd be able to move it. The fact is, in the suggested location, they had previously or recently planted, and they weren't really very happy with the idea of moving it where you suggested it, where it was suggested at the last meeting.
Well, they are within their code, and the board has no option but to approve it. So
Okay.
we have a motion from somebody.
I make a motion, we approve it as it was submitted.
Can I get a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
So if you can work something out that is mutually agreeable, fine.
Okay.
You've got what is approved. If you're going to modify it in terms of the setbacks, do they even need to go here? You can alter it as long as you don't bring anything any closer to the neighboring property.
I'll
So,
discuss it again with my client and see if there's anything we can do.
all right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have, and I hope you reviewed them. We have the drafts of the two amendments.
We also have one more thing under old business, Mayor. B under old.
Oh,
business.
yes, excuse me. We had the hearing last week. This is the amendment to the code regarding the equivalent of timeshare owner. Can I get a motion to approve that local law number 1? In that, in terms of enacting Village Code, section 245-7D.
So this is, hold on, this
Second,
to not allow co-ownership, correct?
Yeah, fractional ownership, prohibit the fractional ownership.
Yes, okay.
But does it prohibit the ownership or the use?
Both actually, use or occupancy of the dwelling by successive unrelated persons claiming co-ownership. And then it can't be deemed by that fractional ownership cannot be deemed a use or occupancy by a family. I mean, it could arguably be ownership, but really use and occupancy, which is one of the bundles of
That
ownership.
was,
Yep.
it would be easier to uphold its land use,
Correct,
which we are allowed to regulate, and not land ownership,
correct,
which we are not.
correct.
So can I get, maybe I got one, a motion to move it. Did I get a second?
Lisa?
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
New business. local law on the curb cut driveways, excavation regulations. Does anybody have any comment on the draft now that it's? I'd like to set a public hearing for it for the first Monday in March, which is
Wednesday, March 9th.
the 9th. Can I get a motion to set a public hearing
So moved.
on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next is the amendment for gas powered leaf blowers, which effectively forbids their use except by homeowners or tenants during this season.
What we suggested that the homeowners and tenants were not able to use them during the timeframes, but the hours.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Okay.
That applies to, wait, that is not what it says.
Oh,
It says that they
They're
have
excluded.
they're excluded, but not in the times when nobody can use them. before.
Correct.
yeah.
The hours here.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, the homeowners and tenants are excluded, or have to stay within the hours of their time.
right,
But they are, they're not subject, they're
right.
not forbidden to use them,
Right.
as long as they do so in a timely fashion.
Correct.
And I
Carrie's
guess,
still confused.
Well, so the landscapers cannot use anything between the hours of 8 and 6 or 5 and 9 and 1 and all day Sunday. But the homeowners can during those hours,
During the season,
during the season.
yes.
Okay. I'm okay.
can I get a motion to approve that?
No, that's the March 9th. You want to do that as well?
Do
The public
a
hearing?
motion to approve setting a public hearing
Okay.
for March 9th.
Okay.
So
I'll
moved.
motion it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that's it, other than the claims review, paying the bills, and the regular reports. Is there anybody having a meeting? I won't make you sit through all of that. Do you, anybody here with questions or comments? Bill? Michael, do you have anything you want to say? Oh, you're
You're muted.
I'm sorry. I think I've got to work this by now. Thank you. I think this is going to make a big difference in our quality of life, and I appreciate your time and attention and support with this. Thank you very much.
Well, we'll see. I mean, this is I don't think this is the last time we're going to be addressing this, but it'd be interesting to see if this really does make a difference. It should.
I'd just like to get my mail at the SAG, just without noise reducing headphones. Anyway, thank you very much, you all. Appreciate it.
You don't mind those big delivery trucks going by? Like, the dump trucks. Okay, claims review. We've all had our see them, and we've all got our vouchers. Does anybody have any questions on the vouchers in the back?
Yes, the warrants in the back. Yep,
Okay.
looks like the last thing done.
So I think we will Let's see if anybody has any questions on the financials. So we're going down to page 2 here. Does anybody have any questions at all on the vouchers? Not just their own, but on any of them?
Yes.
It's way at the back here. Yeah. What was Wayne Bruins bill for?
It's for the,
Golden Farm?
thank you, yes, yep.
Do you know where that is at the moment?
I don't, but I can get an update for you. I know I'm ready to. It was, what, $150, so.
$100, so
Yeah. So, it's a lot of time, but I,
half hour of this.
yeah.
So Rhodey, just a quick question. When I email you that I've approved my vouchers, the email becomes my signature? I mean, the fact that I've read it, got it, just
So
curious.
I put that with the vouchers, and I just put on the bottom that it was, you were attended by Zoom.
Curious. Just occurred to me that I wasn't signing.
That's how I do it.
And can you explain to me this tree fund?
The tree fund, it was a plaque that was purchased by a donor, and that $150 is for the installation of the plaque. They put it in a concrete or cement.
And
And then
they paid us for it?
it was part of the donation. Yes, they paid for it. Yes.
Where did it go?
That one was for, oh shoot, what was the name of those people? Can't remember the name, Bill. They'd already purchased one for one grandchild. This was and it was an existing tree, so they adopted a tree.
On Saturday?
Maybe in Sagamine, but I'm not.
And Sagaponic Road, right? Was it, it said Moss.
Rhodey, is John still here?
John is out this weekend.
Okay, and the McLean Associates was
Under which one?
under Capital Highway Fund.
That's the Daniels Lane and then Hedges Lane. He's starting the survey with the Hedges Lane.
Can you write these down, please? So they need- So we'll keep this as separate projects.
Hedges and Daniels, you want me to keep separate? Okay, yes.
Because we still have some outstanding work that has not been paid for on Daniels.
Right, so he'll be monitoring that installation of that, you know, the dirt and the stuff for Daniels Lane.
And by when is that supposed to be completed?
I'm assuming that, I know Rosemont was ready to go on it, but with the weather, I'm guessing it got pushed off. I'll get it done. I don't have it off the top of my head. Or I didn't ask for it, so, but I will ask.
Okay, let's approve the vouchers. Which. Okay, for the general fund. and just outlet and we want the total. But the fund total is not what you have on the sheet. It's not what you have on my.
56, 147, 45.
At the bottom of the next page.
Oh, I see. I still have 3 times. No, it's I see it there. Okay, 56,000. 147, 45 on the general fund. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tree fund, $150. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trust and agency. And to McLean and computer science, total of 7930.47. Motion,
So moved.
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Capital Highway Fund, $7,101.05.
So
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, does anybody have any questions or comments on where we are? Where we should be?
There you go, John. I think so. Yeah, I have it here. That was kind of long. But, I think I need to.
If there aren't any questions on that, I can close the question I've been posing. Where are we on Hedges Lane? When is the survey?
We actually got a response on that, and I got to print it. They do have the. He said the field survey was completed Tuesday afternoon. So that was last Tuesday, the 8th. By the end of this week, they'll have all the data processed, enabling a printout of existing layout with grades. So he's looking to get that, because I told him you needed it by March, in order to make the determination of whether you want to just repave or widen some.
And when can it be done? I think we have to wait till they reopen the plants.
So he said to me, he's been telling Rose Bart's coming. I don't see any reason for the project not to be ready, all on track, because I said to him, you know, obviously we have to get this done by Memorial Day. I don't think I will have the project fully designed by March 9th, but should be able to give a good presentation of cost by 3/9, should have final plans and cost by end of March. I see the project taking maximum 4 weeks. No problem with completing before Memorial Day.
Right. I think it's very important for us to know by March 9th if there are any special reasons based on their survey of extra costs that would be involved in going from 26 feet to 28 feet. Okay. So what?
So over, if you're talking about what happened on Daniels Lane, was they didn't realize there was such a height.
Around the culverts, how much extra problems that would be created.
Right.
And what are we looking for? If we don't widen it and we replace it as is, we want a cost. If we do widen it, similar to what we did in Daniels, what would be the costs? And where, if any, would be choke points, which would need special remediation if we do widen it.
Was Daniels ended up being 26, not 28, right? We originally said 28, and then we,
I think you're right.
Daniels was what, 26?
26. It was 26. We
10,
said 28 and we moved it back to 26.
which is 10-foot traffic lanes
Mm-hmm.
and 3-foot
Shoulders.
shoulders.
Correct.
What we don't really know is what is the existing width
Correct.
on Hedges Lane. No, where even to do 24 may have to be widened.
I thought we were gonna try not to widen hedges.
We didn't make that decision. It just has been discussed.
Lisa would like the proponents of wider roads in Sagaponic to at least be able to address us before we make a determination.
No, I didn't say we determined it. I said
No.
we were gonna try not to. Or some of us were and some of us weren't.
I think you were waiting for the survey
It's
to
not a
see
question
what
of whether
you
we
got out
try to
there.
do it.
Yeah,
It's whether
yeah,
we-
you're right.
Whether we decide to do it.
Yeah.
Uh,
In getting the survey was the
uh,
key piece.
Yeah.
But I think, Lisa, you want your
Bike lane.
your bicycling lobbyists to be able to weigh in on this before we decide.
I think that's a fair thing to do. If we allow the leaf blower contingency to do that, we should always allow people from our community who have expressed interest to participate and give us their opinion. I don't think we should make a decision. We've only, over my 14 years, have a handful of times that we've had groups from the community come forward. And I think they're one of the times, and they should be allowed to participate in the discussion of that decision.
I agree, but we're burning daylight.
Mhm.
And so if.
Well,
well,
we're burning daylight because we're waiting on the report from the
Yes.
company,
So. what I'm-
not
what
on
I
our
was
part.
Say, Lisa, is I think we should really make it clear to Peterson that the March 9th presentation, you should have the numbers and so forth, which you can show to us. And then I would suggest that for the March 16th meeting, we
Make a decision.
ask the public to weigh in
Okay.
on whether we should widen it or not.
Okay, and because I don't know how we can make.
You will have the privilege of presiding at that meeting, Lisa, so.
So March 16th, just so I can clarify, since you and I will be ships passing on overseas highway. March 16th, we would have time in our meeting for the contingency that spoke back in the fall on Daniels Lane to readdress, because we should have the figures from our engineering company and any blockages like culverts or something we don't know about under the road or any of that stuff in front of us.
Right, I mean, it may be impractical, even if we decide to widen it, that we necessarily widen it at the choke points that are, just a couple of yards long.
Well, and we learned that on Sag Main where the culvert was at the end, and obviously that pipe under the road at the end of Daniels. We have, well, maybe it has been fixed since I've been home 3 weeks ago, but I understand that issue, that if we don't know yet from the survey what we can't visually see yet, I think this survey and the plan is important to have by the 9th. So at the 16th, we can speak intelligently and understand what the overall picture is. And the 9th being also a potential land planning session. We never know, depending on the people who return with new information on our current open cases. Might be a hard meeting, the 9th, to fit everything in, because sometimes land planning, takes up a lot of space.
Not anymore.
Probably not, but I never ceased to, when we say something's not going to be a lot of time, it does.
But, we could. I don't think it's going to make a bit of difference to the proponents of widening the road, what the cost estimates are. So maybe we should hear them on March 9th. At the same time, we're hearing this other information, but I don't think whether they're for widening it or against widening it is going to have anything to do with the cost estimates. And I think whether we widen it or not, if it turns out to be really not cost effective to widen at certain choke points, I think everybody can live with that.
I think we've done that before with the choke points on the Sag Main, and I understand that makes a lot of logic. And maybe we had 2 spots on Sag Main. We did it, when the road raises up there and goes down by Farm Court. We obviously, because of the drop off there, we couldn't touch anything in that section.
We did cut into the,
Oh, we did it on the other side. Okay, my mistake in memory.
fully, there's some portions that there's not a 3 foot, not even a 3 foot right of way. But the survey should show us, whether we've got a lot of earth that has to be moved in some places in order to allow drainage. We'll see, but I don't think the proponents of a wider road, whether there's certain difficulties or problems in achieving that, I don't think that's going to change their minds.
Well, so are we going back to March 9th as the time that they would come in, see the data as we see it, or March 16th, just so I have?
I think sooner the better.
Let's do it on March 9th. Let them hear Peterson's presentation, our questions to Peterson, and when we've got answers to those questions or finish that portion of the exploratory work, we'll open it up to public comment on what we know what the public comment is probably going to be, which is they're going to want the road widened, and we'll argue that the aesthetics are subsidiary to the safety issues.
I thought some people didn't want the widen also, like Daniels, who said, right?
And there's.
But we had 1 or 2 on Sag Main, but
Right.
those were letters. I don't think anybody showed up.
Well, I'm just gonna take the list that I used in the past and send it.
Yeah, that's all we can do.
Yep.
Uh,
And just so that you know, the governor extended the Zoom attendance by participating board members to March 16th. So if you so
Oh, that's
choose to
good.
pop on, Dawn.
Well, I can, no matter what the governor decides, we're gonna continue to Zoom
Mhm,
meetings
Right.
and allow people to.
correct. But what I'm saying is a board member can participate until March 16th
And vote.
and vote.
After that, they have to be here, right?
We don't know.
Well,
This
we'll
has been-
see.
Well, yeah.
It keeps being rolling
So that just came
forward,
down
or they
yesterday.
change the restrictions. And we'll see. Okay,
Okay. So I will let Mr. Peterman know that
you know,
we're presenting March 9th.
yeah, if he could just give himself that deadline.
And Rhodey, are you going to contact Jeff Tannenbaum?
Yes, I will, Lisa.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And if you want, you can just send out one of your broadcast emails to the
Okay,
to the entire
okay, I can do
village,
that.
as well as just the Tannenbaum group.
Okay,
Well, remember, his group had 200 people signing it, so it could be lively. Or it might not be. We'll see.
200 people want to come here.
No, I'm just
No,
saying
well,
is even if 25 people came on Zoom from his group, it could be lively, or we'll see.
But the more the merrier.
Well, we're usually by ourselves. It's nice to have company.
yeah, there was quite a few that came in-house.
Okay. Reports. No questions at all on the financials.
Nope.
No.
Okay. Lisa, you got anything to report?
Yeah, I have the zoning board notes from this past Friday, but I'm gonna have to tip my screen down in order to read and not look at you if you don't mind for a minute. The zoning board meeting happened this past Friday at 3 p.m. I'm going to go over the new items and some of the previous ones, kind of in the order of how they did it. The board rendered a decision on 108 Town Line Road, and the variances were granted. And just to remind you from the previous month, that is located at the end of Town Line Road on the west side, where those tiny lots are negative building lots. So they have come before us, the zoning board, multiple times, and architecture board, with problems in respect sometimes for small things to add to their house. In this case, the person was approved, the owner, for a hot tub, heater for the hot tub, a small grilling pad, and an outdoor shower. And the decision was rendered. Okay, and new business on 1145 Sag Main. This is a house at the far left as you're heading to Sag Main Beach. And the owner wants to conform with current FEMA standards and raise the house up on stilts to 51 feet. The house currently is in the 40-foot area, depending on how you survey, the dunes and such. The owner presented their information. People spoke for it, and a neighbor spoke for it, and another person spoke against it. It's would probably be one of the larger houses we've ever had in the FEMA flood area put up on stilts. And if you do a variance, the variance goes with the property. So some discussion was made about the variance would only pertain to the house in its current shape, not if they ever knocked it down and tried to build another house, if that makes sense, which happens occasionally with houses down by the ocean. So that information was put out on the table, and more to follow on that next month. So the third item was 175 Wainscott Harbor Road. And that was in relation to placing air conditioning and heating units at 19 feet instead of the required, I believe it was 20 feet at that particular lot in that zone. Also, the applicant wanted parking in the front yard so they could enter the front door somewhat in a loop, for lack of better explaining. The hearing was closed, and we will hear more as next month as to what all the evidence brought the zoning board to make their decision. The final item was actually the first item on the agenda, which has been on our docket for a long time, the Cynthia Petrillo issue at 108 Sand Dune Court. And as per recommendations in previous reports, I was asked not to get into excessive detail in my report. But Elliot, I just want to compliment Elliot for summing up the evidence presented at the end of this long process, and very clearly going over that and allowing the applicants and the neighbors and all the people to add anything they wanted to add prior to closing of the hearing. So we will hear more next month, I'm sure, as to what the board has thought about and what they might be deciding in the future. So that's it.
Lisa, are there many other houses that have a 51-foot height along the?
Truthfully, I wish I had an answer for you on that. And I think if John was online with us right now, I'm sure he probably could say that. But it didn't sound like in that particular neighborhood there were any others. As to further down by Peters Pond Beach and through there, I don't know about that. But it sounded like in that neighborhood, it did not have that. Where that house is sitting in the dunes currently, it's in a kind of a higher section there up from that pond that's behind it. And so one of the people who spoke said we really needed to see a picture, not me, I'm sorry, the zoning board needed to see a picture of what this would visually look like if you were walking down the beach. So if it was raised up and to that height and you were walking down the beach, what would that look like? And I had to agree with that comment because I couldn't visualize it. 51 feet sounded amazing. Apparently the house is already in the 40-foot area, but remember the dunes and that house has been there a while. When they do the updated surveys, a lot of that changes periodically. And I can't say whether originally it was at 41 feet or as part of the building up of the dunes when we did, with the program, if that changed some of that topography in there. So I wish I had the answer, but I don't, sorry.
So that wasn't part of the testimony?
Yes. And next month, hopefully, we will get more information on that. I think the board was looking to see more visuals from the beach side. And that's a hard thing, I would think, for someone to draw easily, because I think you would have to resurvey the whole property to do that, like get the current topography and then raise it up the amount of feet that FEMA is requiring in that area at the current time.
Will they do that
Because
behind the dune? The north side?
the house would remain in place. It would just, their proposal is to leave the house in the actual place and raise it up. So it would be somewhat behind the dune, but from the survey, from what I could see on my computer screen. Not all of the house is totally behind the dune. So you can clearly see it
My
from the
question
beach.
was, they measure from behind the dune for the 40 or the 51 feet.
The 40 feet it's from
See, level?
sea level, so you're, it
From
doesn't
ceiling.
topography is.
So it sounds like they want to raise it 11 more feet.
It does sound like that, if it's at 40
Yeah,
feet
12
already.
more.
I've never heard of anything like that in my business.
Well, yeah, Marilyn, I'm glad you said that because that neighborhood didn't have any at 51 feet, but I didn't know off the top of my head if it's down further east and all the way down to Town Line Road, if we had any others on the ocean at that measurement.
Not that I know of. I don't know about,
The closest I would think would be Stillman's.
Well,
That's
is,
the
Maybe.
closest to.
it all has to do with the FEMA regulation.
Yeah, is 1 feet for anywhere coastal, or is it like
so it's
South
40
Carolina or up here different, or?
I don't know about other places, but here it's been 40 feet. So like when people have to build new construction, you're seeing modern houses on the ocean because a lot of them can only do one level because if it's VE 19 or VE 21, they're starting at 23 feet. So,
Yeah.
they're very limited and I haven't seen variances of more than, I haven't heard, I'm not an expert on these variances, but I haven't heard of variances of more than 2 feet. I've heard of 42 feet.
That's because you're looking at a brand new house. This is an existing house.
This is a pre-existing house. They can't cut their second floor down.
No, I understand that. I just.
Yeah, so I think that was part of the problem in it being higher.
Lisa, did they close the hearing on that one?
I don't believe they did,
There
according
is-
to my notes. I could be wrong. Is Bill sitting there?
It
there
is closed. It is closed.
Closed.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't write that down. My fault.
The question is, I believe, which we did not have the opportunity to ask the attorney, are we required to do something, some relief because of the change in the FEMA floor level? And the other question would be, maybe putting a poison pill in it, where the owner was present and said they loved the house, they had no intention of changing it. And my contention was, it looks like this is a two-step process where you get a variance for a 51-foot house, and then you knock it down and you put up a monster.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
the possibility of us making it where
Yep.
percentage of the house would have to be destroyed before we required them to come back to, or destroyed or rebuilt to come back to the village code. So
And
let's
what
say,
you're saying, Bill, is all on the record from Friday's meeting, correct?
yes,
Yes.
So basically, that's the dilemma.
Mhm.
But they could just totally gut the house and
Well, it's,
make a new.
I mean,
And you guys realize by lifting the house up, the house could actually, I don't want to say fall, but part of the process of lifting a house up doesn't, by house movers, guarantee that all of it survives the lifting up. Sometimes sections fall off or whatever.
The other piece is that FEMA requires if you renovate more than 50% of your structure, you have to conform to today's FEMA codes. So
Right, so if they want to
but
renovate the house.
there's no reason why they can't go out rather than going up.
don't know what they got in setbacks.
Also going out would be like it's 50% of the value of and they place the value, it's at least 1,000 square foot to renovate a house and like that, probably more, but FEMA sets a very low value so the 50% of the value of the house at a small price per square foot is basically nothing, unless they've changed.
John is the expert on this. I am not. And everybody does it differently to figure out that 50%.
Okay,
And I am not sure how John does it, but he ran it past FEMA, so the way John calculates it, it's acceptable to FEMA, but I don't know what it is.
I'll have to ask
So
him.
the reason they want the variance is because they want to keep the existing structure. And make it clean, make the existing structure conform. But,
That'd be very clever.
Well,
which is
They-
very, but I mean, God,
the
that's
zoning,
the whole skyline of that, of the beach from, one of the most visible properties on the beachfront.
Yeah, it already stands out like a sore thumb if you're going from Sag Beach looking back, because there's no dunes or
Yeah,
anything.
you already see it clearly.
Raise it up
um,
another 12
Well,
feet.
so that'll be an interesting decision.
It'll look like a-
It will be.
And remember, the zoning board is only, they're not looking at the renovation permit. They're looking only at this part of the permit. So they, pardon?
There's no renovation permit. The only permit is to raise the house. That's it.
But the owner said in the meeting that this was the first step toward them renovating.
Okay, but we don't have,
Correct, Bill?
other than the,
Bill,
Yeah.
is it a requirement that they have to conform to the new FEMA regulations?
I don't know, we didn't ask for an opinion at the time,
Oh,
but we'll get that before we.
well, maybe our attorney can figure that one out.
Yeah. Well, I'll take a look. I
'Cause, I mean, it-
I think that if they don't want, if they left it alone, I think the answer is no. But
What,
if they left the structure alone,
right, they can leave it, it's fine.
yeah,
It's if they want to renovate more than 50%. of
right,
it.
it triggers the compliance
Right.
with FEMA height regulation.
Which a lot of people are
Which is
want to
astounding.
do to that
That's an
house.
astounding number.
ridiculous.
That height is very
Also,
high.
I'm curious, sometimes FEMA maps, they do them, they were the drawn, and once again, I'm not an expert on FEMA maps, but I know that people have had their properties reevaluated in order to get a better FEMA reading, and it's worked.
Yes.
Because when they go in and they can't know every single specific property, and when they do look at it with a magnifying glass, I'm just wondering, that being 40 feet already, perhaps it's not as much of a zone. I mean, there's the pond there, so maybe it's I don't know. I just wonder, if it's so high, is it really in danger, and could it be rezoned so they don't have to lift it up?
the Trillo had theirs rezoned, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Individual height measurements. You actually shoot the elevations on the height to find out where it is. But you're absolutely right, the FEMA maps cut like a broadsword, they don't cut like a scalpel,
Right.
so they just cut it across, everybody's gonna go,
Yeah.
whatever the number is, 52, 51.
It's already 40 feet above sea level, it seems.
Well, hopefully our ZBA will protect the village.
Yes, that'd be nice.
I would think that they would have done that elevation analysis, but it's a good question to make sure they did.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, thank you for your report, Lisa.
You're welcome. And architecture board comes always, 10 days after this meeting, so I'll catch it next month.
So is that meeting for Tuesday, Rody? The AHRB?
No, it's the fourth Monday, so it will be on the 28th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 28th.
It's 10 days out
It's the 21st, yeah.
or whatever, approximately 10 days out.
Okay, Carrie, do you have any on your mind?
No, I'm done.
Okay, Bill.
The only thing I have is, of course, we're waiting for the survey on hedges, but I threw it out here last week's meeting about the piles of dirt.
I spoke to the highway
Oh, you did,
superintendent
that's what I'm
today,
talking.
yes. And I asked him, I told him the concern, so he is going to look at it
Okay,
and see what they can do.
okay. Did you mention to him that, just for an example, is Gibson and
I
Crestview?
didn't, I told him did not go around the village, so I wasn't sure of the areas, but
Okay,
if he could go around and
maybe he'll
look
stop in.
to
and
see, right, so.
I'll meet him down there if he
Yeah.
wants. It's just, it's atrocious the way they did it. It looks, it's butchered.
Is
And that lady that whoever lives on the corner there, she had, and then she complained once to us about people walking their dogs along her grass
Right.
between the, under in between the hedge and the road. I mean, she's got it all, it's landscaped, it's beautiful. And this thing came along and took divots, I mean, 4 or 5 yard divots.
Yeah.
out
That's,
of the thing.
I was gentle when I spoke with him.
Yeah,
I asked him.
he'll see it.
I get it, I mean,
He's parked enough cars down there.
so
He knows the
I asked
area.
him to go look at it, and he said he would, and
Okay.
they would take care of it, so.
Bill, is this Dr. Burke's old property?
Yeah, Dr. Burke's old place. Yeah.
Oh, okay, because the owner, I have her info if she's not there right now. I know
I
where
haven't
she is.
seen any cars in there other than,
No, she always tells me when she comes and goes back. She's a nice, normal neighbor.
Ipswich.
She's in Connecticut, so
If you
anyway,
know her, if you know her, I mean, maybe she wants to take a look.
yeah, no, and Rhodey, if for any reason you need that contact, I do have it.
Okay, I'm assuming it's not on her property and it's Village Verge, so. I don't-
Well,
No, it
I
is,
think
but-
it is the village property.
Yeah, so.
And,
Yeah, probably, but
the,
still.
one part of the pile that they piled up, I mean, I understand it was emergency snow removal and stuff, but part of the pile that's piled up obstructs the view of Gibson Lane as you're coming out
We
of.
want to
Gibson.
have a follow-up.
So, you know, you have to actually get out onto Gibson before you can see past the pile. So it's a bad, whoever did it was not familiar, I don't think, with the area. Because at the end, actually, at the end of Gibson, they must have brought the payloader down there with a load of snow and dumped it at the end, but mixed in with the snow was all this topsoil, beautiful heavy topsoil,
Ooh,
pile of topsoil down there.
Ugh.
Okay,
So I mean,
I did, he will.
somebody was not, you know,
Today,
it
so.
wasn't Ray Hostowski plowing it.
Well, so they must have had different people doing it this year, I guess.
Well, I was looking and I was reading in the paper that the village, Southampton Village, had a very difficult time finding snowplow operators.
I mean, I know Southampton Town does have subcontractors.
And, yeah, and one of the reasons
I don't know who
that
did
the
it.
village gave for having a lack of plow drivers was that the town hired a bunch of them. So I guess there's a few.
Mayor wouldn't pay overtime.
Yeah, right. And I remember years ago, Dean Forster used to
Yeah, well, that's
do it, and then they wouldn't let him do that anymore because he didn't have.
the
the proper
insurance and
liability.
stuff.
the insurance, that's how we
Yeah,
lost
sure.
Dean and those
So it-
independent
it's-
contractors.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, I called him today, he actually called me, and so I will, and I put that to him,
Okay,
so
good.
hopefully I'll follow up with him by Friday.
Yeah, and he can give me.
Plenty of time to
he can
come
give me a
up.
call.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
That's all I have for now.
Marilyn,
I don't have anything else to report.
great. Is Charlie McCarvey going to keep this valet parking business?
I don't know, I didn't ask him that, but his son, runs it, I know, so. I assume-
But isn't he the police officer, the son? Or are there others?
Yes, you're correct, Lisa, he is also a police
Oh, the
officer.
son is a
Yeah.
police officer.
Oh,
He has a couple-
Yeah, he's the one that came to the Sagaponic School. He handled the corner there when they did their winter concert outside due to COVID. And he came over and talked with the kids and stuff.
She
The
was-
son, I meant.
He started out here as a part-timer.
Yes, he did.
That's right. Yeah.
So stay
Okay.
tuned, I'll let you know that as well then.
All right. No questions from the floor. Can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting? And our next meeting will be March 9th
Mhm.
at 3 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Oh,